Let's talk about a tax you're almost definitely paying, but one you'll never see on a government form. It's this massive, hidden cost of just everyday convenience, and it might just be the single biggest thing draining your financial future.
$42 for a $14 meal. No, that is not a typo. This is our starting point for understanding a system that's been masterfully built to just siphon money right out of your wallet one tired evening at a time.
So, let's meet Amanda. Picture this. She's exhausted after a crazy long day at work. The last thing she wants to do is cook. All she wants is pad thai from her favorite spot, which is just 3 blocks away. I mean, we've all been there, right? It's a completely relatable situation. But this one simple decision, it reveals everything.
Okay, let's just look at the anatomy of this thing. The food itself, that's only about half the price. The rest is this cascade of fees. You got a menu markup, an impulse spring roll, a delivery fee, a service fee, a small order fee, and of course, an inflated tip. Each one by itself seems kind of small, but you stack them all up, and suddenly a simple meal becomes a luxury purchase.
And here's the real kicker. This wasn't a one-off thing. For Amanda, this happens a few times a week, and not just with food delivery, but with grocery apps, same-day shipping, you name it. This pattern of paying what we'll call a convenience premium adds up to over $11,000 a year. That's money that just vanishes. So the big question is, why? Why do we do it? Why do smart people like Amanda willingly pay triple for something? The thing is, the answer isn't just that we're lazy. It's that our brains are hardwired with this little glitch, this specific vulnerability that the entire modern economy has learned to exploit perfectly.
There's actually a name for it in behavioral economics. It's called present bias. And put simply, it just means our brain gives this massive, oversized weight to avoiding a small pain right now, while it dramatically downplays a much, much larger cost that's somewhere off in the abstract future.
So if you look at Amanda's choice through this lens, you can see what's happening. The effort of walking 11 minutes, to her tired brain, that feels immediate and huge. But the extra 28 bucks? That's just an abstract number on a screen. Her brain automatically chooses the path of least present resistance, even when the math is just terrible.
And let's be clear, this is the business model. This is not an accident. Companies like DoorDash and Instacart, they're not really just selling you food or groceries. What they're selling is the avoidance of mild discomfort, and they have figured out how to put a premium price tag on it. They are, quite literally, taxing your exhaustion.
Okay, so let's zoom out a bit and see how this all adds up across the economy. Because honestly, once you start looking for this convenience premium, you see it absolutely everywhere, bleeding you dry through 1,000 tiny cuts to your budget.
Get this. According to a report from McKinsey, the average American household now spends $5,400 a year on these kinds of services. $5,400. And that number has tripled since 2015. We're just being offered more and more ways to pay, to avoid tiny bits of effort, and boy, are we taking them.
I mean, food delivery is the most obvious one, right? When you combine all those fees we saw in Amanda's bill, the total cost is pretty routinely 40 to 60% higher than just picking up the food yourself.
And it's the exact same story for groceries. That $100 cart of food easily becomes a $125 or $130 bill when you factor in all the higher prices, the service fees, and the tips. You're paying a 25 to 30% markup just so someone else can walk down the aisles for you. And it gets even more extreme with things like pre-cut produce. You're paying 4 times more per pound for a watermelon that someone spent, 15 seconds cutting up for you? And this same insane markup applies to pre-chopped onions, diced peppers, pretty much everything. Or how about your daily coffee? Brewing it from ground coffee costs about 12 cents a cup. Using one of those pods? About 55 cents. That's a 400% markup for the convenience of not having to scoop some grounds into a filter. Over a year, that little difference can easily cost you hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
Okay, but here's where the story really gets serious. We've seen the daily costs, the yearly costs, but what happens when you let this habit of paying for convenience run for an entire working career? It stops being a minor budget leak and transforms into a genuine wealth destroyer.
So, what is it? What's the final bill for a lifetime of always choosing the easy, expensive option? $768,000. That's the potential cost. That's not a made-up lottery number. It is the real, calculable price of just a moderate convenience habit stretched over a lifetime.
Now, you might be thinking, how on earth is that even possible? Well, the math is actually painfully simple. If you just take a pretty conservative $400 a month that's going to these premiums and instead invest it, say, in a basic index fund, the power of compound interest turns it into over $750,000.
Okay, I know those numbers are staggering, maybe even a little terrifying, but here's the good news. You are not powerless here. It is absolutely possible to become aware of this tax and to fight back. Here's a simple 4-step plan to start taking that money back.
First, you got to calculate it. Go through your spending and see what you're actually paying. You can't fight an enemy you can't see. Second, and this is a big one, add some friction back into the process. Delete the apps from your phone. Remove your saved credit cards. Make it harder to spend impulsively. Third, reclaim some basic skills, like learning to cook just a few simple meals. Every skill you learn is a convenience you no longer need to pay for. And finally, and this is the most important step, reframe the whole idea. Picking up your own food isn't a chore. It's the 15 minutes of labor that just earned you $15, which can then go to work for you.
This might be the most powerful way to think about all of this. You know, the story we tell ourselves is, I'm tired, I work so hard, I deserve a treat. But from the perspective of the algorithm, you are a target. Your exhaustion is a resource, and every time you give in, you are being harvested for profit. So I'll just leave you with this question. The next time you reach for your phone to avoid some minor task, just ask yourself, are you really buying convenience, or are you simply allowing your exhaustion to be monetized one $42 pad thai at a time?